Hey guys, welcome to the inside of my car. I had this really pretty location scouted for us. Do you see that park right there? It was going to be awesome. And then it started raining. And I thought, I'm still going to record this video. I'm going to choose to record this video because this video is all about choice, specifically when it comes to your kids' education. So, why are we talking about this? I think the more choice you give your children when it comes to the education that they have, the more they're going to enjoy it. And when you enjoy it more, you typically retain the information. And isn't that kind of the whole point, right? You don't want your kids just to memorize something and then forget it, which is what I feel like I did for most of my educational experience. I really want learning to be a positive thing for my kids. So I thought what I would do today is share with you some decisions, some choices we had to make, and how I had to take a step back a little bit and perhaps give my kids a little bit more choice than other parents would have done. It's not always easy to do, but hopefully this will help some people out there. So the first choice that I think about when I think about their education is when we decided with the girls to do something a little bit different. I'm calling it unschooling. You can call it deschooling. We're really just kind of doing our own thing, as you guys know. I let my boys choose if they wanted to do it or not because they had been going to school a little bit longer than the girls because they're a couple years older than the girls. And that means they're a little bit more established, right? They have routines at school. They have friendships. Sometimes, they played on different teams and things like that associated with the school. So that was a kind of a difficult choice to make because in my mind, I knew that they really didn't like school. I mean, what kid does like traditional school? And they would come home and they would just be like, I don't like school. School's boring. And I thought, well, if you had a chance to do it differently, if you could learn at home and try something different, wouldn't that be more fun? But when given the choice, they chose traditional school. So that's the first thing that I thought of when I think of choice. It's letting them choose what they think they want to do and also being flexible with that. So, for example, my girls are doing the whole unschooling thing, but I leave it up to them. I say each year, hey, do you want to continue doing this? Do you want to try to do something else? And just this last year, Addison, one of my girls, said, well, we may want to go back to traditional school when we're in high school. And I think that's like a social thing, right? They're hearing about dances and stuff, parties, whatever that you have in high school, homecoming, all that kind of stuff. And I think she was kind of interested in that. And so I've decided to leave that open. I don't necessarily think that's the best way for them to learn if we're strictly talking about education. I'm not a big fan of traditional schools, but we're leaving that open. And so in their learning, in their curriculum that we have decided on for them, they are keeping track with their grade level because if they decide to go back, that's going to be important for them. They're going to want to be in the classes that their friends are in and all that. They don't want to be, behind or even ahead, really. They really just kind of want to be with their friends. It's a social thing, right? Let's talk about choices when it comes to what your kids are learning. You don't have much choice in a traditional school environment, although my son just sent me a screenshot, I think it was yesterday, of some electives that he chose for next year. But for the most part, you're just kind of doing whatever the curriculum is. And when you do something like unschooling or online learning or whatever it is, you have a lot more choice. So for us, again, for my girls, we wanted to keep with, okay, your core subjects, you got to keep up if you ever want to go back and try different schooling or go back to traditional school. But then we allow them to choose other things. So we use OutSchool. I kind of view OutSchool as a way for them to have some electives. I still want them to learn something educational, but it's more flexible. OutSchool doesn't really provide you with a report card of how your kids are doing or some sort of certificate to say they completed the class. They don't do that. Instead, you may have teachers that update you on what they learned in a certain class, but there's turnover, right? There are kids that start classes and decide it's not right for them and try something different. So I feel like the girls can be a little bit more flexible with that. And recently, when we came back from the holiday break, from Christmas break, I said to them, do you want to keep these classes or do you want to try something different? Because again, why are we paying? Because that's an extra fee. Why are we paying for classes that you might not be interested in? And so they took a look at their schedule, and I think they were taking like 3 different classes in OutSchool. And there was a science experiment class that I thought was really cool. That was my favorite part about science. But they just really weren't interested in it. They weren't connecting with the teacher. And so I allowed them to drop that class and pick up something else. And it wasn't as smooth as I really wanted it to be. I wanted them to find something else and love the class and that be it. But they actually had to try a couple different classes until they found an instructor that they liked and the topics that they like. And it was even just last week, I think they ended up adding 2 different classes and they dropped one of those classes last week. So again, we're talking about changes. And the tough thing is with that is I don't want the girls quitting something because it's too hard or they get frustrated, right? So I ask a lot of questions when it comes to making a big change. I want to know where this is coming from. And that kind of leads me to the next point of a huge conversation that the girls and I have been having this last week, which really prompted this whole video. And that is one of my daughters, Ainsley, came to me and said she didn't want to do videos for the YouTube channel anymore. Like she's dead set against it. And I'm not sure where this is coming from because we've been doing this for like, what is it? It's over a year and a half now, as far as school years go. She's never said this before, but I have noticed over the last month, maybe even longer, the days where they have to do their recordings, the girls are just like constantly at each other's throats. They're just fighting, fighting, fighting. And I'm constantly like playing referee. And that's not what I want to do either. And again, I do believe learning is supposed to be fun. What I like about the YouTube channel is it gives us an opportunity to connect with anyone who might be considering doing unschooling or a different type of learning than traditional school. And I hope we've given you guys just an idea of what we've experienced so you can use that and hopefully that helps you on your journey. But the other thing that I like about the YouTube channel is it's an opportunity for them to work on their presentation skills. So when Ainsley came to me and said she wanted to do it, and I'm telling you, I still don't even really know what we're going to do because she's dead set against this. So right now I'm in the negotiation phase with her. And it's not going that well. She doesn't want to do any videos. And again, I don't want her to stop doing something just because it's difficult because when she was in traditional school, she would get very nervous to talk in front of other kids and in front of the class. She didn't want to read in front of other students. And that's something that I knew we needed to work on. And I thought maybe doing videos would be a way, you don't really see the people that you're talking to when you're doing a video. So I thought that that might help. And then I encourage them to be creative with their little dance party stuff in their videos. And it gives them an opportunity to learn more about graphics. And this year they're now creating their own thumbnails and they're doing all the editing. And so just one more skill that I thought would be good. But Ainsley still doesn't want to do anything. So right now I'm in the negotiation phase of saying, okay, you don't have to do the weekly, hey, here's what I learned this week. You don't have to do those videos. But when we do projects, I still want you to present what you learned through your projects, which is reading and writing and research. And usually there's some sort of visual aid that's involved. I told her I still want you to do videos about that. Right now, she still doesn't even want to do that. But I'm hoping that we can work something out where, again, it's fewer videos, but just focused on the projects. I'm negotiating. But I see no point in, like, going toe to toe with our kids with this stuff, because if they just have a bad attitude about it, they're probably not gonna do a good job. You know, if they don't like the content of whatever they're learning, they're probably not gonna retain the information. And so, again, I just wanna do this video about choices, because if you choose a different type of learning, there's a lot of decisions that you're gonna have to make. And I would encourage you as much as possible to be the guide for your child, but try not to make all the decisions for them. Guide them, let them know what you think. You know, I kind of view parenting as not this do as I say or else, but I view us as a protector. You know, if life were a playground, the parent would be protecting the outer skirts of the playground, you know, allowing the kid to explore and just making sure they don't hurt themselves or hurt other people. And that's what I feel like I'm doing when it comes to life in general with my kids, but specifically with their education. Allow them to explore, allow them to make mistakes. You know, my girls chose a couple classes that didn't work for them. And I said, I'm like, I don't know about that instructor. You may want to look at this. Oh, no, 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 it'll be fine. And then a couple classes later, they want to drop the class. There's learning in all of that too, right? Those types of experiences. So again, choice is important. You're going to have a lot of them if you go on this journey, just like my decision today to still record this video in the car instead of doing it out in the rain, right? We have choices every day. And I think the more and the earlier on we teach our kids about the ability to make choices, and, you know, maybe next time make better choices, but you're kind of you're learning as you go, and you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay, right? So, I'm off to pick up my son from school, traditional school. But I wanted to get this video in, and hopefully, you guys will consider some of the things that my family has gone through when it's time to make choices for your own family.